that that's happening. And this for the first time is part of the Agile 20 Reflect Festival. And the Agile 20 Reflect is something that Scott Severite, who's a big proponent for Heart of Agile, started in Scotland, and it says over 600 events worldwide in February. It's now over 700. There's more that are being added all the time. So it's pretty exciting. And if you don't know about it, it's www.agile20reflect.org. And it's been made possible entirely by volunteers. You're welcome to make a donation. I know that they're taking kind of a GoFundMe thing just to keep the website up and running more than anything. And there's a code of conduct, and the festival started actually last Sunday on January 31st with a big opening ceremony that Soledad Pinter, you were part of that. Hey, Soli. And as were, I think there were 250 or 300 people from around the world all joining in. And if I was able to figure out how to do the Jerusalem, I would put that on right now, but I just have no idea how to do that. So I'm going to stop the share. And Soleil, can I turn it over to you, because as the worldwide CEO, is that the right thing, or the CTO or the CIO or the CFO or all of those for Heart of Agile? You just finished a session with Dr. Alastair Coburn, and maybe we can start out just by seeing how that went.
Well, the session was about the story of a little bit of history with stories about how the manifesto was written and how we lead up to here, right? His 30 years of experience around and studies that lead him to that room and what happened in that room. So he went through different stories, telling a little bit about the past, the people, the backgrounds of the people there, why and who was who. And of course, there's a recording that we are going to share in the festival. And it was quite nice because we have also some questions from the audience. Edna is here, that she was there. I don't know if Gabriela you were there at the
yeah, I was there.
Yes. So I was like compiling all the questions at the same time that he was going through these 4 moments, like before, during the meeting in that room in Snowbird, and these 20 years of use and abuse of Agile. That's a funny way that he puts that. And the current state, right? And what are the horoscope of Agile that was kind of at the end. It's quite nice. I think that he covers a little bit of everything that we had in mind. I don't know, Gabby, that you were there, if you can say as an audience, kind of,
yeah, the
kind
impression that, the impression that I had was something like, everything was started by, collaboration and, the way that it was set up and the way it was showing to the world was basically, active listening, and also is, I don't know, the ability and the availability of the folks that went there and jumped to this adventure in snowboard, and something like this. It was just interesting because we always want to know a little bit more and more. And he commented about the name, about the adaptive and agile and why they choose that one, and pretty much it was nothing more, I guess.
I'm curious because I've heard so many people talk about it. It was all men, and it was all in Snowbird, and it was all there just to go and smoke cigars and ski and have fun. And what I look back on, and we had a discussion yesterday, but what did they have any idea of the impact that their work that single weekend would cause?
No, of course not. That's a question that was there for him, and no, that nobody possibly knew what this could have become, right?
I guess
Was
we never know, right, Carol? Because let's say this, how do you need to jump in a meeting? We can change everything. Because if you just say, oh, it's just a meeting, it's just a week, it's just a snowboard, nothing is going to happen. But if you think that whatever you're doing, you can change the world, well, absolutely. Okay, you can
Right.
do that. And they want to change a little bit the way they produce software. And that's what they did. But this extend for, many areas, and it was like that.
Right.
Yeah, that's so true, Gabby. That's true. You never know.
Yeah. But if you think that nothing is gonna change, absolutely nothing is gonna change, because I still in a cell phone. I don't care. People can talk in my place. And no, if you think that, okay, I'm here to do something, I don't know, to change Paul or to Nick, change a little bit what he think it's something.
Right.
And he
Yeah.
also mentioned about the women's, okay, and why women were not there, because we don't have so much representative in software, development at that time. Okay, we have a few folks, and she mentioned, I guess, 3 or 4, thinking about a lot, and that's why they had a list, they have a community already, and then they just invite whoever was part in that community. That's why we don't have women or something. It was not, wow, we are not
Right.
going to have black, or we are not going to have women. Or no, it's not like this. It's just, the way it was, it was.
It's like an open space rule, right? Whoever is
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
whatever needs to happen will happen, right? Like, um, yeah, it was it was an interesting stories. As Alistair always liked to do storytelling, so it was a nice session, and
Nice.
uh, and I like that he agreed to do this only session in Spanish for all the communities in Latin America and Spain, and from all those Spanish speakers actually, and it was quite nice, um, because I think he's only doing another talk. I don't know if he's going to appear in mine, but he's going to do another talk in English, but in the context of the DC area. It's a conference that is in the context of the festival, so you can find it.
Right.
So yes, it was quite an opportunity to have like a quite close encounter. So
I found I don't know if you can see this, the slide that I often refer to, which is you never really know the true impact you have on those around you. You never know how much someone needed that smile you gave them, or how much your kindness turned someone's entire life around. You never know how much someone needed that long hug or deep talk. Don't wait to be kind. Don't wait for someone else to be kind first. Don't wait for better circumstances or for someone to change. Just be kind, because you just never know how much someone needs it. And I think of that when I think about meetings and situations and just going through life. I know Scott and Sath are going to do a session next week on the imposter syndrome, and how they, as leaders of this festival, in their personal and work lives, feel sometimes inferior, feel like an imposter. And I think that sometimes we hear so many negative things. I ask people in classes, I say, how long does it take you to find out you did something incorrect or wrong? And people go, a nanosecond. We hear about it immediately. And then you say, well, how long does it take you to find out that you did something that changed somebody or made a difference? And people say, sometimes you never know. Sometimes we have no idea. And people spend their entire working lives thinking they didn't make any difference. And I think sometimes if you're fortunate enough to be in the right place at the right time, and sometimes it's just coincidence, that you make a difference. So this is something I've actually got on my wall, and I've got it that I look at it because I go through the same thing. I go through times that I think, you know, who even cares? Like, what does it even matter? And I think a lot of people go through the same thing.
And Carol, I will tell you, joining this group has been tremendous for me. And, you know, being able for Chris to join, you know?
Yep.
I mean, and even when I sent it to my brother and sister who have nothing to do with IT, they were like, I said, here, look at this guy's YouTube channel. And they were like, wow, impressive.
Right. Well, and it's, to me, it's serendipitous connections. It's kind of like firefly sparks that are everywhere all the time. And you just never know when you're going to connect with something somewhere and it's going to change your life. And so, you know, Paul, you've been a really active contributor, and this has been great. Nick has been an active contributor, and hopefully when you get this incredible job, which I know you're going to, if it's not today, it's going to be the next interview. I hope you'll continue to support this because you're a big part of it.
Definitely. And even Nick put something out there because I forgot what the name of it is, but it was a link to a group, not in Florida, that were offering free advice sessions over Zoom on how to do things with LinkedIn. And they're kind of faith-based. 7 o'clock, I went on, and they said, oh, I heard there might be somebody joining from Florida. You know, there was me and one other person. It was just a general thing. So, but Nick put that out there, and 7 o'clock, why not join? So hopefully this interview goes well, and I have to drop off. I'm sorry.
Hey, well, good luck on your interview, Paul.
Good luck, Paul.
And Nick, glad to see you have a job.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can change the background of your Zoom session. You know, I don't know what the company practice is, but just want to thank everybody, and definitely looking forward to when I can get the mug on Cafe Press.
That's right. The Heart of Agile mug from you, Soleil. Alistair came last week and he held up his mug so proudly and he said, I'm the only one in the world that has one other than Soleil. So everybody has mug envy.
Yeah, including myself, because yes, I failed to get one for myself.
Where is yours? I have to drop, okay? Thank you very much for your time.
Well, maybe
And,
we'll see you
I
next
hope we
week.
can see in the
I
next
have to drop also.
Sounds good.
Good to
No
see
problem.
everyone.
Stay
Yeah,
See you, Nick. Thanks for dropping by.
Okay, I'll do it again. Bye.
Sounds good.
And Carol, even if I do get the job, I'll give you a tutorial on Slack.
Hey, that works. That's perfect.
Okay.
I found out that there's a new one called Discord, so it's like constantly having to learn something new.
In Discord, we're having like a 24/7 launch section for the festival.
I'm not too big on Discord. Let's just say that there are a lot of, how do I put it, fringe groups on Discord.
Well, it's what we're using for the festival as a connector right
Oh,
now.
you are? Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
So far it's
yes.
been good.
Let me. I don't know. Well, I don't know how to invite him.
I'll send him a note.
Okay.
Hey, and
Take care,
Rocio's here, and Etna, and Lucio, and hopefully I pronounced that properly, and Ronaldo.
Hello,
Ronaldo.
Carol.
Hey, Rocio.
How are you doing? Nice to see you.
You too.
Hola, Rocío. Tanto tiempo.
Hola de nuevo, Sole. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Qué hora es allá?
7:30.
Ah, bueno, no es tan tarde.
No, but I'm super tired today.
Sorry, this is in English? Yeah, this one is in English.
Yeah, this one is in English. Yeah. So
Okay.
my brain is melting at this point of the day.
And the big plan was we were going to talk something about collaboration or something, or just anything. So for anybody that's just kind of listening in, this is just an unstructured, whatever you want to talk about. And I think I thought it was interesting that Paul brought up some of the things that has really made a difference in his life over the last probably 2 months.
I need a book that says collaboration for a stepmom with the stepdaughter. I don't know if you have any book like that.
I'm not sure if that's collaboration or cooperation.
Are you having troubles, challenges with that?
No, actually, well, yeah, kind of. I mean, like, she wants to be here all the time, but she has to go to the school. She cannot be just playing around. So she can start crying because she's not here.
Oh my God, so sweet.
You
so
were just too much fun.
Yeah, so it's because you are a cool stepmom. So you this
I'm
sure
over
it's about
spoiling her.
cooperation then that you need
I'm over spoiling her, so the mom is mad.
Rosie, are you going to turn on your video?
Yeah, as soon as I get dressed.
Oh,
that would be quite appropriate. Yeah.
You know, that's one of the advantages of Zoom. You could sit here and not wear pants, which is that big discussion that always goes on comedy shows about whether the broadcasters in sessions are wearing pants or not. And I have to tell you, I've been on some team meetings and WebExes and things like that, and somebody will be in their yard or in their office, and they'll stand up because their dog's jumping or something like that, and you find out that they're wearing shorts, or they spill something and they move their laptop, and it gives you a full view of their legs. And so it's changed the whole image, I think. Hey, Lucio, welcome.
Hi, Lucio.
Where are you at?
I'm from Argentina, in Mar del Plata, exactly. It's a city. Yeah, in the
spring over there. Good weather.
Yeah,
Summer.
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 No del mar.
No, it's the.
Ooh, lovely.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the food over there is so delicious.
Yes.
Yes, with tears in your eyes.
Yes. I ran out of Malbec, so I need to go and find more. Yeah, I mean, at least I have good meat from Argentina here, so I cannot complain.
Nice.
But yes, and wines and stuff, and also, well, and yerba, even mantecol, and those very, very particular specific things for sweets from Argentina. Of course, there are a lot of Argentinians all around Europe, so there are already a lot of
yerba that is not Mary Jane, right?
Sorry?
Can I ask something? The idea of food and festivals is something that I've seen in research and things, and some of the cross-cultural work that Trompenaar and Geert Hofstede did. And he said that the two topics that can separate people in an instant are food and festivals or traditions. And I'm wondering if those are the things that can separate us, if those aren't also the things that can absolutely lead to much better collaboration, that meeting over food and meeting over festivals and meeting over fun things, if that's not a key to maybe opening up the doors for collaboration amongst people who are very different or who are at different statuses or different experience. What do you think?
Of course. Yeah, I think food is a really good key to to group or to have a team or to joining people.
Yes, actually, I kind of disagree with the original concept that you mentioned, that they separate people. For me, they united.
No, what he meant is, say you're in a lunchroom or something, and for example, like in North America, horse sausage meat is like, people just get disgusted. So if I brought in some beautiful sausage from Europe and I'm cooking it up in a microwave oven, and I'm in a lunchroom and somebody says, "Oh, Carol, that smells delicious. What is that?" And I go, "Oh, it's a horse sausage sandwich." They'll go,
Oh my God.
"Oh my
God.
And they'll go crazy. So
Yeah.
without even saying a word, food is something that's personal. And what he meant was that it can cause people to non-collaborate without even thinking. And the same thing with festivals. And I'm thinking, but I see a lot of collaboration. I see a lot of boundaries coming down through food, through festivals, through being
Through drinks.
open to new things.
Yes, I think that, well, I have to, for me, it's about the people that are at those places and the spirit of the festival, or the people that are gathered together with or without food or with drinks. But definitely for me, it's a way to, as Rosia was mentioning, a way to get people together. It's a great team building to go out and have a drink together, or have a lunch together with your teams, to get to know each other a little more, right? To get out of the work space, or in that case, families historically having sharing the meals, right? So
Even more if that is for free, right?
sorry?
Even more if the food is for free.
Yes, of course.
I think that's a universal thing. Free food, free beer brings people together.
Carol, there is something to what the gentleman said. So if I think back of my experience 10 years or more, there was that kind of thinking, particularly when someone had something that didn't smell as nice as what you were eating. So there was that separation, that segregation going on. I think in the last 5 years, primarily the last 5 years, with the emphasis so much on teaming and inclusion, people most of the time have a tendency to tolerate those differences. It doesn't mean that I am going to get excited about smelling something that isn't particularly appealing to me, or that I won't react maybe more quietly about what you're eating, but I will be more forgiving because we're in a group environment, and that's part of being in a group environment. Festivals, that's a tough one. I only go to festivals that I'm interested in going in. So there is less likely for me to kind of isolate in an environment where I have consciously made a decision to be part of because of some kind of an interest. So that one's a little bit harder to swallow.
Well, and maybe it's the word festival was meant as celebrations or respect for celebrations, and the food and festivals are something that are kind of innate, that we don't even really necessarily think about. If you celebrate Christmas, or you celebrate Hanukkah, or whatever you celebrate, it's something that is part of your culture, part of who you are. And people that don't understand it can, the first thing in creative problem solving is that if you see something that's different, our first inclination as humans is to reject it. And so we can completely accidentally reject people without even meaning to. And so the quickest way that Hofstede said to separate people is by unconscious rejection of things like food or celebrations. And I think that's the key, as Soli said, to bring them together is through shared celebration or through shared respect of some of the food, like you're saying, tolerance and learning. And I believe that we have to be taught to include. I think at birth we are taught to exclude. And I think what we need to do is relearn that it's a conscious decision to include. I don't know. What do you guys think?
And you see that in children. Children don't know how to exclude, but eventually they learn how to segregate different groups of people over
Oh,
time.
children are mean sometimes because they say exactly what they think. I see that with my stepdaughter because, oh, this is recording. Oh my God. Well, yeah, children are mean sometimes because they say exactly what they mean, what they are thinking. And sometimes they don't have like the filter of the ethnicity or region or countries or food or whatever.
But they don't do it consciously or maliciously.
Depends on the age, though. You're talking about small children. If you take preschool children or kids that have not been taught, I think that if we took a group of babies or toddlers or 1-year-olds and you put them all together in a room, I wonder if they would squander. I wonder if they would like take the other toys and hoard them. Or I often wonder, at what age do they start learning socialized, domesticated behaviors? And as part of that, start learning exclusion. I don't know.
Well, I think that's a kind of I'm not sure of this. I'm trying not to speak of something that I don't know, but what I can say is something that I saw during the pandemic, because I have friends with small kids, 2-3 years, toddlers, 2-3 years old, and how being in quarantine, isolated, they start getting too much inside on their head, on themselves, and not socializing, because that's just the moment when you start sharing your toys, when you go to the kindergarten, and it's not only my world anymore, and I'm not at the center of attention at home, right? So how I don't know if it has that to do, I think it has to do with the neuroplasticity of how to develop some social skills there. That is very important between 2 and 4. And I have no background on this. I'm just an observer of seeing them interact. And now that the schools are open again, and I have 3 schools around me, and the kids that I see more cheerful and more willing to play with each other, right? And I see that difference between the ones that have 1 kid and the one that have 2 or more, right? The difference on the type of, apart from the type of personality that the person has itself and it's developing. I think that part is that age is key. That's my opinion out of talking of something that I don't know anything about it.
Right.
It'd be interesting to ask parents, when
Yeah.
did they notice their children either acting differently or being acted upon differently by other people? When did they consciously make that connection? What grade were they in? Since most kids start school, or first, second grade around 5 years old, I'd be curious to find out at what age or what grade.
I
When they
wonder
started-
too. I think about nature versus nurture. How much is part of your personality and how much you were taught? And that's always, for me, it's a curiosity. And then you get the inherited characteristics. So then now you cross the lines between nature and nurture. And you get inherited, they're doing studies on kids that are born to parents who were in the Holocaust. They did studies on that and the inherited trauma transferring across generations. So I always wonder if it's nature versus nurture, or if there's a combination sometimes of the two. But I think it's interesting if there could be a study done on at what point do kids start noticing differences? And is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know.
I don't know. I received mine when she was 6 years old, so I don't know anything before that.
It was already set.
Yeah, she was already with the ROM already configured.
So you bought her already installed,
Yeah,
fully installed.
yeah. I
Potty
just trying to
trained.
reconfigure this thing.
Potty trained and able to speak and articulate. Oh, they took the whole fun of it. You didn't have to potty train her. Don't know what you missed.
Lucio, do you have children? No,
No, no, yet, no.
no. And Etna, do you have children?
Yes, too. She's in the lunch break. That's why she cannot.
Okay, no problem, no problem.
But she's answering there, yes. But I can say that much for her.
I think she knows a lot about it.
Yeah.
Ronaldo, how old are your children?
He is in his, I think 30, 31, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can recall my son, you know, I moved from Canada when my children were small. So my son started first grade in the United States, and there were kids, you know, in Canada, it was very much a homogenous white Catholic. The one school system is purely Catholic. And so my kids were going to a Catholic school because that's just what you did. And so we moved to the United States. My son starts first grade, and it's a very multicultural class, and it's public school. And so he comes home from school one day and he says, "There's this really big kid bothering me." And I said, "Which one?" He goes, "Chris." He said, "There's 3 Chris's in class." And I said, "Oh, okay, interesting. Well, what does Chris look like?" And he said, "He's a big kid." And I'm thinking, oh, okay, then I'll recognize him when I go into the school because I'm curious about this kid, Chris. So I'll never forget walking in to, you know, a classroom in Florida and saying, okay, I'll bet I can figure out which one this Chris is. And I walk into the classroom and I'm looking around, and there's like several big kids. And I said, "Well, which one is he?" He said, "The one over there." And from a Canadian perspective, where everybody was, you know, white, Anglo-Saxon, it would be natural to say, "Oh, well, Chris is the only African-American child in the class." But that was totally something that didn't even cross my son's path. You know, here he was, a 6-year-old, color was completely nothing that he noticed. And I thought, you know, this is so great. How do you bottle that? How do you keep that innocence and that acceptance of everybody, and just judge people on the basis of, you know, yeah, they're taller or shorter? And I just remember, even to this day, when I think of that story, I find it refreshing that it's, you know, people are all the same, and we need to mix better, I believe, as adults.
Yeah. Wow.
Carol, that wasn't my experience going to grade school.
Did you go to grade school in Canada?
No, in the States.
Okay. Okay, tell me your experience. I'm curious.
Okay, so one black kid in school. The fact that I'm telling you there was one black kid in school means everybody knew it. maybe 10% Spanish-speaking kids, and obviously 90% white, Italian, Irish, German, English. We have one French guy. But they were homogeneous because they were all the same. And there was, I would say, early in grade school, maybe 4th grade, you could start to see the divisions begin. If you spoke Spanish, you gravitated towards that group.
Interesting.
The one black kid gravitated towards the kids who were Spanish because he was nothing like the kids who were not.
Interesting.
So it wasn't until the students were on the same athletic team that they started to look at each other different.
Interesting.
The coach had to teach them that they were part of a different group. You guys are all on the same team. One goal. That started to break those down.
Right.
So that goes back to, and the people who had the personality, as I think you were mentioning it, or Rico was mentioning it, the kids who had the personality where that was easy for them to make that transition made it quickly. But the people who, through nurturing, through their parents' views, or their own personal views, they were a little slower to do that, and some never did.
I think we, and this is my belief. I thought for a long time we have the, you know what you know what you don't know. Like I can't do brain surgery. I know I can't do that. There's things that I don't know, which I discover every day, which I find absolutely fascinating. And I used to think that was the 3 spheres of knowledge. But I'm now believing that there's an absolutely 4th sphere that is bigger than any of the others. And that is having to relearn that the things that I thought I knew, that I took for granted that I knew, aren't real a lot of times, and that you have to relearn. So I know that Alistair Coburn always talks about we naturally, through instinct, know how to collaborate. We should just go out and collaborate, and we know what to do. And I have to kind of step back from that and say, I think maybe we need to be retaught how to collaborate. That we think we know how to collaborate, but our ways that we think we know how to collaborate may not be the best ways to collaborate. That we need to, I know for me, I have to always address the confirmation bias. That if I look at you and say, oh, I could agree with you because we're so similar, we share the same beliefs. And you reinforce me, so we are going to be a great team. That may not, my confirmation bias, my bias may be completely skewed. And if I could get over my confirmation bias and actually embrace some of the things that I might have rejected before, wow, that may open up brand new worlds for me.
That's interesting. Because when I look at teams, I sometimes wonder if the reason they have a hard time collaborating is because some are female, some are male. So they look at them different. They haven't been taught not to look at them different. Even if they went to college and the university was maybe 60-40, that in those 4 years, they didn't learn how to change that mindset. Or your personality is different. You may be quiet, I'm outgoing, and we don't really collaborate well because we're 2 different personality types. So we have to figure out, Carol is not a detail-oriented person, but Luisio is a very detailed-oriented person. I have a hard time working with him because he's always asking me these stupid questions in my mind. So every time I approach him with a bias. He's going to ask me question after question after question. Carol's going to ask me one question. So I sometimes wonder if when you get together, is that the first hurdle that we need to overcome so that we can collaborate better? Because I wonder when Alistair attended the February 11 through 13, 2001 session, did they all just get along? Or did there need to be something to kind of, as you mentioned, relearn that you have to collaborate? You know, if I was the two gentlemen who were the Scrum developers and I had formed my own opinions, did something need to happen so that I would see maybe different than Ken Beck and his views on the engineering side of how to do application development? Because we have two different views on it.
Now, Lucio, were you in the session with Alistair right before this?
Yeah.
Okay, so did he talk about the how the group worked together at Snowbird?
Yeah, he talked about some people from XP, I think, has the deposit, and they share for the other people in the group, and they start doing this kind of I will say open source, but open space, but kind of, and they were so weird for them, and they start sharing their ideas to all the people in the group, and putting the deposit in the window and starting like creating a collaborative agenda. And this was like I remember this kind of story. And I have a question about the collaboration thing, because at the end of the meeting, he started. One question was about, what do you think is going to be the Agile philosophy in the future, no? And what do you think, like the path or the way we need to take to like for our evolution, no? And he started talking about the Agile is spread about sorry for my English, no, that is spreading governance, education, and family and people. What do you think about is the key of heart of Agile to start sharing this philosophy to other people outside of the current environment, or something like that? No?
And what does he have was his outlook that it's going to grow and it's going to be positive? Where does he think the Agile world will move?
Yeah, he speak in this way like a positive thing, because it is spreading in other areas. But what do you think about what we need to do to collaborate to other areas outside of the current state of Agile world? Something like that. What do you think we need to do, or focus? What do you think?
What do you think, Ronaldo? What do you think? Where do you think we're headed?
That's a good question. I agree with them that, and thank you, Lucio, for the summary, since I missed it. I think there is value, particularly if you look at his four main focus items of collaborate, deliver, reflect, and improve. that's universal. And any group of people that come together should start with, okay, we're going to need to do these 4 things really well to be successful. You know, just fundamentally speaking, we can build from these, after somebody explains to them. So it doesn't make a difference whether you're in marketing, you're doing, I don't know, a book drive, or any other kind of thing. I mean, I think those are fundamental, particularly the collaborate. Because if you're part of a team and you don't have a collaborative mindset, then you're really looking out for yourself. And that is going to work against everybody working together. So I think he has a good point. Those concepts are universal, not specific to any particular industry, nonprofit, profit, profit, so on and so forth. So I could see where he would think, hey, this needs to go beyond just the traditional environments where it actually seems to be popular now. But you have to sell it in a way where it's not, you have to sell it in a way where you don't have to kind of know a specific industry. Like if you walk into a nonprofit and you start talking about collaborate, deliver, reflect, and improve, if they don't come from that kind of environment, it's like, I don't know what this means.
Right.
So there needs to be some lead up, if you will, an explanation that says, in a group environment where success is determined upon everybody contributing, these are 4 underlying concepts that we need to embrace.
I agree. I think that the simplification, I think that we as humans tend to pile things up until it gets complex and complex and complex. And when I think back to 2001, I was working in a software development organization, and I remember that Anderson Consulting had come out with their method 1 a few years before, and it was 18 levels deep of documentation, that it was like 1.4.6.7.1, and people would come to me and say, Carol, do I need to fill out this template? I'm doing something simple on a PC, which was brand new at the time. Do I need to fill this out? And I'd say, no, just that doesn't apply. And they go, well, method 1 says I have to have all of these, bookshelves worth of documentation, which the minute that they're written on go away. So I think that my opinion is that the Agile Manifesto came about at a time that people were like, oh my gosh, we've got all these heavy software things coming up, the F-35 and the Boeing programs, and we're spending millions and millions and millions of dollars on trees, on paper, and on things that, wow, once they're finally published, they're out of date. So what can we do to simplify and get back to the basics of product development? So I think that that's kind of what happened, and it was great, and it was simple, and it wasn't complex, and it was like, we valued this over this, and it was, 15 pages max throughout the entire world. And then everybody went away from there, and over the last 20 years, it's been, let's make it more and more and more and more complex. So we're not quite to the Anderson Consulting Method 1 level, but we've got all of these safe practices and all of these dad practices. And if you mix them, people go, oh, hang on, that's not safe. That's not a safe practice. We have to look at it. It's written right here. And I think that Alistair's recognition of the Scrum, retraining for Scrum, and having to check 200 boxes off as knowledge competencies just kind of looked, it's like those, I always speak in analogies, you may notice this, but my kids used to go to this place called Discovery Zone, and it was all these balls, ballrooms that kids would go into. And at the end of the day, you would have this stupid little name tag and you would take it off and you would put it on top of this ball. And it was kind of like a ball of Band-Aids. And once the ball got to be about this big, you knew that there had been about 2,000 kids in that place and it better be cleaned. Anyways, there's this whole ball. And that's what I kind of think probably started happening. You know, you've got XP and you've got Scrum and you've got Scrum 2 and you've got this and you've got that. And it's all just piled on top and it looks like this massive ball of name tags. And so what I see is Heart of Agile just scrapes that all apart, just, you know, blows up that ball and says, let's get back to what we were really trying to do in Snowbird in the first place, to make things streamlined, to make connections, to make people understand that we're delivering solutions, not technical things. So that's the way I see it. And I think that it's going to happen again. I think that with the Heart of Agile, there will be people that as a natural course, we pile on top and then it gets more and more and more complex. And then there's going to have to be a simplification again. And that's kind of almost human nature. I don't know. What's your opinion?
You know, I have a question for Luisio. Do you have to follow very long processes like 100, 200, 300 steps? What's your experience where you work today?
Actually, I know I'm not working today.
Okay.
But
The
yeah.
last time you worked.
Yeah. So I've been in a company, software company, software factory, sorry. I had an experience when I asked some change because I want to change my role. And this was like, I got a response about this kind of change can took 3, 6, and 9 or a month or a year. And in this moment, I feel like in me personally, like I'm not I don't want to be part of a company where I need to wait maybe for a year, like to make this kind of long path, or I don't know how to say, to find or to get something really, or to get an experience, no, to kind of get something. This was an experience that I remember always, because we say we are agile, but we can do something in a quickly way. This is why I asked the last question, because it was about HR problem, I would say, no.
Mm-hmm.
This my perspective about that is like I need to I don't know how to get in a long path or way for something.
Okay. The reason I asked the question, Carol, was for when I was a project manager, if I had a project that was going to be 9 to 12 months long, the process had like 300 steps. If you counted them all down. You had a similar experience, but that's because you were working in a software environment in the year 2000, 2001. But I'd be curious in the last 5 years, how many people experience that level of instruction today? So as to understand that first value, that was because people had to follow these processes that when you printed them out and you put them on a table were 2, 3, 4 inches thick.
Right.
And you needed to put them in a binder because God forbid you should drop them. You had to put them back in sequence, and it wasn't a couple of pages. There was a lot of pages to put them back in sequence. And you produced a whole lot of paperwork in doing it. And I don't know if in the last 5 years, people understand that and understand the first value was because of that problem that people had a problem with between 1960 and the year 2000.
I do think there are people, and I've encountered them in the last 2 years, who say they're doing Agile and they're doing ad hoc. And I think there's still, I know that Agile has pervaded the world, and especially of software development. And I love that. I love the fact that, there's still structure, but there's the roadblocks that used to be there, especially with documentation, in a lot of cases are removed.
Yeah.
But I do see that organizations are still struggling, especially in large governments throughout the world. I work with the government of Malaysia, for example, and organizations that are massive, that are starting to embrace what they want to get as the good parts about Agile, are sometimes facing the ad hoc cowboys who are somewhat opportunists, who come in and say, oh, we've got an Agile process for you, and we're not going to write documentation, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. And so I think there's a whole, right now, I think at least from my perspective, and this is a very isolated perspective, that there's a whole mixture of great Agile to abysmal Agile. And so there's an entire spectrum of good, bad, and ugly out there today. And with the internet being so open, you can't tell sometimes what's good, what's bad, and what's ugly, and what you should embrace. And that's where I think that the heart of Agile really attracted me, is because it doesn't matter if you're a novice. You can ask questions and you can be accepted and you can collaborate. And it doesn't matter if you're an expert. It's just embrace everybody to deliver, reflect, improve the best products.
Yeah.
Hey, well, we are, it's the three of us. I toast your coffee. I've got coffee sitting here in front of me.
Okay, I did have a question unrelated to the conversation, because I know you're trying to get off.
Well, I'm going to stop the recording right now. So
okay, but my question was, when did